Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a process video. So this is going to be super chill and relaxed. We have no schedule, no time frame. We're going to be creating a satisfying animation. I'm super excited because when I do these things, I just kind of go with the flow. I feel what comes naturally to me and I just go ahead and I create in Blender. So I'm just going to run through my process of how I would go about creating a satisfying animation. As you guys know, I love working with cubes, so we're probably going to use cubes as our basis for the animation. And I'm going to teach you guys a few tricks along the way. So if you pay attention, at the end I will put the video or I'll put it on Instagram so you guys can see, and I will advertise this video as the process video for the satisfying animation. So let's go ahead and just hop into a new Blender file. Very first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save it to my Instagram folder as satisfying animation, if I can spell for the life of me, and I'm just gonna say 12.5. All right, let's go ahead and save this. I'm definitely gonna switch over to cycles. I'm gonna just run through the quick process. I'm gonna put myself over here. I'm gonna minimize my face and I'm gonna put the logo over here as well. Cool. All right, so basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna first go ahead and switch over to cycles. GPU, I'm just going to add a little environment texture in here, get some very basic lighting. So I'm just going to select something from Polyhaven. I've really been liking this one, so we're going to use this one. And it looks like it's in there. Snap to my camera. Something I really like to do when I create these satisfying animations is I actually like to hone in on my camera settings. So I like to click on my location and just even out all those numbers. So I don't like any little weird digits. I'm actually going to be using orthographic perspective, so 52.7 degrees for the X rotation and 45 degrees for the Z. GZ to bring us up on the X axis, or sorry, Z axis. And if you hold Shift and Control, you can actually easily snap to different increments up here. So that's a really useful thing. I'm going to add in a floor plane, and I'm just going to scale that up by 10. And I'm going to bring it down on the Z axis. That is going to be perfect. Scale it up a little bit more to fill our screen. I'm also going to change my resolution for Instagram, 1080 by 1920. Perfect. So now as you can see, it's like a little phone screen right here. Those are the dimensions we'll be working with. I'm also going to adjust the Z rotation of our plane to 45 degrees. And I'm just going to scale it up so that it fills our scene. I'm going to delete our light since we're using HDRI as our light source. I'm going to save this, and now I'm actually going to open up a new instance of Blender, and I'm going to open up my real-time materials so that we can import anything we want. So real-time materials is by Blender3D. I downloaded this so that I can easily use these materials for my projects. We can pretty much select anything we want. For now, I might go with something super simple like one of these. Like that's a pretty nice one. That's just like, looks like it just has little dots all over it. Or maybe we'll go with something like this. I think this is paper. No, this is ceramic. Anyway, we can pretty much choose whatever we like. I'm just going to choose this one, copy that, and I'm going to paste it into my project. And I'm going to apply it to my floor. I'm also going to apply my scale to the floor. And as you can see, when we do that, it completely adjusts the entire scene. This looks pretty cool so far. I'm also just going to add some depth of field for my camera, because I know I'm going to want it later. I'm just going to focus on my cube, and I'm going to turn my value way down. Maybe to 1. That's fine. So as you can see, we have a slightly blurred background. Now I'm going to click over here where it says Viewport Display, and I'm going to increase this pass part out value so that everything's black. Maybe just a little bit less so we can slightly see the background here. This is looking good so far. So we pretty much have our scene set up the way we want. I'm going to check on some of my settings before we start getting into the animation. Frame rate, 24 frames a second. That's perfect. End frame. So this is where we can decide where we want to end our animation. Maybe for now I'll do 120, or actually I'll do 24. So you can actually type in the math here, 24 times, and then this is however many seconds we want to do. So I'll just make it a 3-second animation. So it's going to be 72 for our final frame. And if we zoom in on our timeline here, you'll see that now it is 1 to 72. So this is looking really good so far. Everything's set up. I'm trying to go through the basic settings before I get into the actual animation. Max samples, we'll just put that down to 300. We have denoising enabled. Light paths, I'll just make everything 3 for now. besides volume, because I almost never use volumetrics because they're a total pain in the ass. 1, 2, 3, 4. 12. Yep. Make sure everything adds up to the total up here, because if this total is not accurate, it will not calculate your light paths accurately. I'm going to go to color management down here, and filmic is fine, and I'll just do medium contrast for now. This is looking really good. So, as you can see, this is the basics of how I would set up an Instagram reel, because I know you guys love the process, so this is why I'm showing you. Now, this is where we have to figure out what the heck we want to make. I'm going to go back to my solid view for now. I'm going to click on my cube, and I'm just going to think for a second about an idea. I did have an idea earlier based on a previous animation that I created. I really like dealing with cubes, so what I might do is turn on my snapping here, which is this little magnet icon right here, and I'm going to shift duplicate, and as you can see, I'm snapping in increments. I'm going to bring it right above this cube, and then I think I'm going to scale it down. If I look on my top view, S.25, or sorry, S.5 is fine. And then if I move this, you can see I can snap it to the top just like that. And I'm going to move it right above our cube. As you can see, we have this on the corner, and if we were to duplicate this, you can see we have two. Now I'm going to duplicate these, and I'm going to bring them right beside each other. So as you can see, we have a nice 4-split quadrant at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. And I think I'm just going to give everything a bevel. But before I do that, I'm going to shift click on everything, object, apply, scale. And now when we add our bevel, we should be good to go. So let's go to our modifiers tab, add a little bit of a bevel. I'm going to give this 0.02, and I'm going to give it 3 segments. I'm going to click on auto smooth for this, right click, shade smooth. And I'm going to click on all these and shift click on the one I added the bevel to, Control L, copy modifiers. And as you can see, they all now have a nice bevel. But we also need to shade them smooth as well. And a quick little tip for you guys, if you do want to auto smooth all of these, hold Alt and click this little checkbox. And that'll actually apply auto smoothing to all of them. Now I'm going to shade them all smooth, and now they're looking really nice. I'm going to go back to my rendered view and just give these a little shader. Just a little something like a metallic shader, low roughness. And again, shift click our last cube, Control L, link materials, and that's going to copy the materials over to all of our objects. Everything's looking pretty good so far. I'm going to turn off snapping. I'm going to bring our floor just below this cube so it's barely touching. Everything's looking really good. So I think I'm also going to make these blue so they're easier to distinguish from the rest of our cube. Now the question is, what do we actually want to make these things do? How do we want to make them move? This is where we can kind of get into some ideas of how we want our animation to play out. Someone's requesting to be in the video. At the moment, I'm not accepting anybody to be in the video. I apologize. I hope that does not upset you, but again, I'm just kind of focused on creating the animation here. Sometimes I like to go back through my settings just to double check them, get away from the idea of the animation, and then come back to it. So far I do like the way everything's looking. This cube isn't really doing much right now. We could add a little bevel to this as well. Shade that smooth. And we just can adjust this material as well, make it a nice metallic shader. That looks pretty cool. The floor, I'm not entirely pleased with. I think I might get rid of this weird material or apply it to this. It's fine. I'm just going to give this like a metallic shader, low roughness. That's fine for now, just to give us a little bit something different to work with. Maybe even darken it up a little bit, just so it's easier to see what we're working with here. Just quickly check the comments, make sure I'm not missing anything important here. And we look like we're good to go. Someone said, hey bro, hey, how's it going? Happy to have you here on the live stream. So this looks cool so far. The question is, what do we want to do with all these blocks? And this is again where I go to the fact that I went into this with no plan. I have no idea what I want to do, but I know that I want to create something that is quote unquote satisfying. So now we have to think about what it is that we actually want to do. And I have a few ideas, because what we could do is we could duplicate all of these. I'm going to go back into my snapping. We could duplicate these, bring them up, and now we have basically the same size cube as we do down below. Let me go back to my real-time materials and see if I can find something that is better suited for this. Let's see. There's really a lot to choose from here. It's actually kind of overwhelming how many choices there are. Let's see. We could keep it simple and make them glass or something like that. These are leather right here. There's a lot of options in this pack, actually. Maybe I'll come out with my own pack soon as well, if that would be something that would interest you guys. I kind of like this one. I'm going to copy that, minimize this, and I'm going to go ahead and paste it in. And I'm going to highlight all of these. And I'm going to copy the materials over. That looks good. And I think I'm going to adjust the scale as well. Not in love with it, but again, we can completely change the hue and the saturation of these things. I think they're going to need a little bit more of a bevel to them. Make them a little bit softer. Copy those modifiers over. And now as you can see, they're much more rounded. That looks a lot better. Looks a lot softer to the eye, so I like that. They kind of look like, you guys ever seen those little gummies that are like icebreakers? They kind of look like that. What's really nice about the snapping is that now when I move it on any axis, it snaps exactly one increment over. It's just a really nice way to easily animate things. So, guys, now I'm wondering, what is it that we're going to do, though? Because this is where the tough part comes in. Like, what do we do that's satisfying? Like, what does it mean to be satisfied? Like, visually, we want to make sure that things fall back into place and align with each other for OCD and ADHD purposes. But at the same time, do we really want that? Also need to change to orthographic, I just realized. So I'm going to change my camera to orthographic real quick. I'm actually going to click off of our cube. I'm going to give ourselves an f-stop of 3. Now I realize that I need to move my camera up a little bit. That looks pretty good. The depth of field here is very, very intense. I'm going to move it up to F5. I do like that, though. I do like that intense depth of field. That's just me. That's just me personally. I almost want to duplicate our material here and just create some different colors. That would be cool. I'm going to revert back. I'm reverting. This looks really cool so far. This bottom one, I actually don't even necessarily know if it's needed. Because, guys, we could literally take this cube, move it over, move it down. We could have everything shuffle in and out. Again, sorry if I missed your guys' comments. Let me go ahead and check through. Sorry, I'm not accepting people in the live right now. I apologize. All right, now how can we actually make this satisfying? Let me just think for a moment, guys. I'm a little bit stuck here. And again, this is why I wanted to record this off the bat with no plan. I know you guys like the plan tutorials, but I wanted to show you that, like, as a part of my process, like, I get stuck all the time and I have no idea, like, what I'm going to do next. And then it kind of just comes to me. So let me think for a moment of what we could do here. Okay, I have a few ideas. So let me just go ahead into solid view. Let me duplicate this and bring it out here. And I'm going to actually scale it on the x-axis and hold control while doing that. And we're going to make this 3GX, move it over. I'm actually going to apply the scale. So see how the bevel looks really weird right now? Watch what happens when I apply scale. See how it fixes itself? That's why you apply the scale. Because if you have modifiers or materials, you want to make sure you do that. Are you streaming on Twitch as well, Kenny? Would love to watch it on my computer. I am not at the moment, no. But definitely will look into that for the future. So guys, for this, what I'm actually thinking that we could do is we could actually have this piece right here push these other blocks out. It's just an idea. Okay, hold on. I got it, guys. I got it. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to highlight these, move them up. Oops. Move them up like that. We're going to make a little bit of a tower here. Okay, so now we have this nice tower. And what we're going to do is why don't we just shift blocks out and have these little pusher pieces, right? And I'm going to make this the same material as this. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to make a looping, like physics, almost like a physics animation, but it's going to be faked physics. All right, I think I got the basic core idea of what I want to do. Also, this tower, we can pretty much make it as tall as we want. And I'm probably going to put an empty on this to control everything. And then the question is, where do we want these pieces to slide out? This, I almost want this to be even longer so that it's also out of the frame. What is it right now? It's 3. Let's make it 10. Object applies scale. And we're going to move it over on the x-axis. Perfect. So now this is going to be one of our pusher pieces. And we're going to put this here. So now what's really nice about this is we can actually take this piece, and it's kind of like weirdly modular in a weird way. I'm going to go to my top-down view to kind of move these pieces around. Because now we have these rails, so we could push a piece off onto this rail, and then this piece could get pushed over this way, you know? So let me just duplicate this. I'm just thinking out loud here, guys, in terms of what I'm going to do. And actually, in this case, I'm going to lower this value, even though I hate doing that, so that I can see out at the side of the camera bounds. And I'm going to move this on this axis, GY. So again, we could have a piece get pushed out here, and then it gets pushed this way. This could be really, really interesting, depending on how we go about doing this. Or we could do the reverse and have the tower be built from the ground up. To be honest, I'm not quite sure. And what's really nice is even after we go through the whole animation process and we do all this, we can actually change the materials at the end if we don't like what we see. Or if we just decide last minute that we want to completely change the theme of this animation. So far though, I think this is looking really, really cool. And I'm really excited to see what it is that I come up with, because I have no idea what that's going to be. But I'm very, very excited because it's very, very much modular, and everything is going to be super like geometrically perfect. So I definitely want to focus on that as the key thing here. So if we were to push this out, both of these pieces would shift over. Let me just animate that real quick, and then we'll just go from there. Let's go to our side view. I'm on frame 1. I'm going to insert location. You know what? Let me insert location and rotation. You never know. We might need it later. I'm going to do that for all 3 pieces that are going to be affected here. And then I'm going to go ahead and animate this to the left. So maybe over like a period of 15 frames, it could move over. So I'm going to move it over here like that. Insert location and rotation. And then I'm also going to move this piece on the x-axis right there. Insert location and rotation. So now if we watch, these pieces will both slide over, right? So we start at 0 or 1 over to 15. Now this piece only needs to move ever so much, like that. Insert location and rotation. Now, even though we know there's no physics involved, you can see that we're pushing these pieces over like that, right? So we're pushing these pieces over. Now I want this piece to push the blue one all the way to the other side, in a way where it drops off over here. And guys, what's great about these looping animations is now we can easily make this loop in a minimal amount of frames. I'll show you what I mean. So first of all, we want to animate this piece moving this cube over. I'm also now realizing that it's not quite close enough. There we go. So I'm actually going to insert the location and rotation of this. And then as you can see on 15, we have that perfect. So I'm going to go another 15 frames forward. I'm going to move this piece all the way to the edge here, like that. Insert location and rotation. And as you guessed it, I'm going to move this one all the way over here. Insert location and rotation. Now let's go ahead and watch this full animation real quick for what we have so far. Okay, so we have our cubes being moved around. We have this cube being moved around, right? Now, at this point, this should already be resetting, right? So right after it finishes pushing, I want it to come back on frame 30 and pop back out to its original location. So all I have to do is copy this first keyframe, Shift D, drag it over to 30, and as you can see, it pushes and then it releases. Now, this stack is not going to be able to fall back down until this pusher piece gets all the way out from underneath of it. Now, this is where you guys want to pay attention, because if you want to recreate this, you're going to have to pay very close attention to what I'm about to do next. I'm going to add an empty. Empties are so useful for this type of animation. Let me go to solid view. Let me go to our side view and bring our empty over here. That's perfect. So I'm going to have it sitting right here in the corner. You guys can see it right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to parent all of these objects to the empty so that they can fall back down. So while shift clicking, last thing I'm going to click is the empty, Control P object. And now, if I did that correctly, our empty now controls that whole stack. You see how whenever I move it, when I move the empty, it moves everything else. So now on frame 30, right, I'm going to insert a keyframe, insert location and rotation for the empty. I'm going to move forward 40 to frame 40, move that down right here, insert location and rotation. And I'm going to highlight these two keyframes, right click, interpolation mode, and I'm going to click on bounce. And now if you watch, oops, that didn't really do what I wanted it to do. Oh yeah, it did. Here, sorry, I have to look from this angle. It's hard to see. I'm actually going to drag this out to frame 45, see what that looks like. Perfect. See how they bounce? I think that's pretty much perfect. Cool. All right, now we need to have this also reset to its original location. And I'll make that frame 45. Take the first keyframe, duplicate it over to frame 45. I realize you guys probably can't see the timeline too well. I'll drag it over here. Sorry about that. So now if we play this back, perfect. We want this to fall as well. And this is obviously going to fall as soon as it gets to the edge there. Let me just make sure that's not in frame. Actually, you can't even really see it. So it really doesn't need to fall. So let me just watch this over one more time. 45 seems to be the end. Yep, so we're going to make 45 our final frame. Let's just go ahead and watch this and see if it is a full loop. In order to see this better, so you don't have to worry about this piece, I am going to go to my camera and I am going to drag that up so we can just see this part. And that is a full loop, just like that. Now there's definitely things that we can do to make this more interesting, but I think so far I'm like pretty happy with what we have. I think it's pretty perfect. It's super, super easy and simple to do. And as you can see, it just repeats endlessly. Here, let me go to my material preview so you guys can see this better. Sorry. There we go. Boom. Can you guys see that easily or no? Just make sure you can. What do you guys think? Pretty cool. Pretty simple too. Like really, really, really simple. I think it's perfect. There's probably a few things I would change. I definitely think the more I look at it, like the more I'm like, wow, like we probably could change a few things up. The materials we can clearly change very easily. For example, if we wanted to just go ahead and give this a completely new material, I'll just make it blue. And I'll make it metallic, low roughness. Highlight all those. Link the materials. Like we could do something like that. And then we could easily change the material as well. Something like that would be nice. It's nice enough to just look at this. I think it looks really, really good. You know what I do think this is missing now? I think this piece needs to be duplicated, put under there, delete those keyframes, just so it has something to rest on, because this other side has something to rest on as well, so maybe just trying to go for consistency here. Now, as you can see, this is kind of where you get to see that secret behind the scenes view of the loop. This never actually falls or does anything. And as you can see, it just completely resets. See how everything just resets up here? That's kind of like the beauty behind a loop, is that since my camera is placed at the perfect angle, you're never going to notice where the loop breaks. So yeah, just like that, we kind of created a nice little satisfying pushing animation. Super simple. And if we wanted to speed this up, we could just increase the frame rate. So this is going to be 50 frames a second. Pretty quick. I say it's too quick. 30 frames would probably be pretty good, but I might even just go for 24. And I'm going to show you guys some render settings that I think I might have already put on here that are going to drastically decrease the amount of render time. Max samples, let's do 50 and let's just see what we get. Let me render one frame and let's just see how long it takes. It looks like it's going to take less than 3 seconds. And I bet you it's still going to look really good. I mean, That looks pretty darn good for 50 samples there. See, I think that looks great. You could go with something like this, but more or less, like, we're pretty much finished. We did create the satisfying animation, and it was actually super simple to make. Let me just mess around with some materials here and see like what I can do, because I'm not quite sure if I'm like completely satisfied with what I have so far. Whoops, but I actually kind of like that. Hold on, let me click on the floor, duplicate that, and make that white. Like I said, guys, this is where you get to experiment with what you think looks cool. Like, you could even go for like a red or orange material here. Wow. Crazy what you can come up with. You could do blue. What do we have it on before? Black? It was like a darker color. You could go for white. And this is where I get stuck and I spend, like, no kidding, like I could spend hours trying to make this perfect, because I'm crazy. Crazy when it comes to trying to get something to look right. You can completely change the entire vibe, but just by changing the colors of what you're working with here. Like, you could do like a nice purple, and then this bottom piece could be blue. You know? You could also have these pushing pieces be something completely different. Like, you could make these just be like the same as the metallic floor. 2, 3, 4. Right? Obviously, completely different vibe. You could have it be darker. I kind of like that. Hold on. 2, 3, 4. Cool. So now you have this nice dark shader for our pusher pieces here. I don't know. It's kind of nice. Part of me wonders if we should continue the loop, zoom out, and like have this thing. What if the piece somehow got shuffled back onto the top? That could be pretty cool. And we could accomplish that too. Entirely possible, which is why I'm recording such a long tutorial process for you guys today, is because I want to show you like kind of like how my brain works and how I go about creating these things, because really a lot of it is just it's just experimentation, finding out what you think looks good. The other thing we could do, let me just zoom out a little bit more. We could make this seem like a higher, we go like right there. See, now you're going to be able to see the edge though. See how now you can see the edge, and now the loop is broken. See? See how now the loop is broken because we zoomed out? But what if, guys, what if we had a piece to catch it over there and somehow everything gets pushed all the way back to the top? Should we just do it? Should we just do it? I mean, I think we could. This is going to end up being like, I don't know, a couple hour tutorial, but that's okay. Totally okay with that. So let's say we did want to bring this piece all the way back up to the top, and we did force ourselves to do that by zooming out the camera so much that we have to see the entire process, right? Like, we have to see, how is that cube going to get all the way back up to the top now? Now, I don't even know, so I'm going into this completely blindly with zero plan, but I'm going to show you guys how I would go about figuring this out. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to take our static pieces that aren't moving, and I'm going to duplicate one of them, put it right here, and I'm going to rotate it on the y-axis, because we're probably going to need to push this piece upwards now, right? Let me see here. Like, we're probably going to need to put it right here, go to the side, make sure that's right under our cube there. Go to my top-down view, double check that, looks good. So now this piece could catch our cube, bring it all the way up, right? So this is where I'm like, all right, do we even need the floor? Like, bring the floor way down, right? Hold up. Scale that up like crazy. Now this is where things are gonna start to get really, really interesting, because I have no idea what I'm gonna do next. But this is kind of part of the fun. Let me bring up the camera a little bit, because we're probably gonna need more room here. Now, another thing we can do, guys, and I'm going to show you another trick. There's a lot of value in this tutorial. If you take the camera and you select with your eyedropper tool the object we want to follow, you see how now it's just focused on this object? So as this object moves through our scene, we're going to continue to stay focused on that. And honestly, I kind of like that, and I'm probably going to keep that for this tutorial. So bringing you guys a lot of value here. I do hope you appreciate it because like I could cover a tutorial on just this specific topic for probably an hour and show you guys different techniques on how to use depth of field, how to get some really, really cool shots. But this is just another thing that like, you know, you learn along the way. So I hope you guys are getting some value here. Just popping in quick. What's up, Visual Magi? You popped in at a perfect time because we are creating a looping, satisfying animation. And you just got to the interesting part. So this is where we're going to kind of test ourselves and try to make this fully loop, right, by adding more frames. So I'm going to double our frames to 90, okay? So as you know, this piece drops back down. Everything resets. So we need to make sure that the first and the last frame are more or less the exact same. That is how we create a looping animation. So at frame 45, everything stops. Our next step is to bring this piece back up to the correct level. So I'm going to take our static cube here, insert location and rotation, and let's jump forward to frame 60. Oh, we have to do the same for this purple cube as well. Insert location and rotation. Let's go over to frame 60. Let's go to our side view here so we can see what level we have to bring this back up to. GZ to lock it into place. I'm going to bring it above our stack, and you'll understand why in a second. Insert location and rotation. I'm going to do the same for this one. Insert location and rotation. Now let's go ahead and watch this back. Let's play this back. You can see our cube is being brought up another level. So let's go ahead and play this back all the way to frame 60 and just see how everything is looking. Gets pushed over. Our cube pushes it up. All right, so now this is a great point here to say that I need to zoom my camera out a little bit. Oops, why is this not working? There we go. That looks good, and I'll bring it up a bit too. Looking pretty cool so far. So again, pushed over, pushed down, or pushed all the way to the right, and then this cube is going to push it up, right? Now, the question is, how do we get it all the way back over to its original location, right? Now, I actually think the funny thing is we're just going completely off the bat here, but I'm like, this is actually going to be a pretty cool animation when it's all said and done. Let's go ahead and take this static cube here, and let's bring it up here. We're going to Shift D to duplicate. I'm going to go to my top-down view. Now, the goal here is we need to somehow push it this way. So what I'm thinking here is we're going to duplicate this one more time. We're going to rotate it on the Z-axis 90 degrees. Okay. We're going to bring it over so that this cube now needs a place to slide. Let's go ahead and give this an area to slide on top of. Perfect. This cube, this will be the thing that pushes it to its last final resting position. And then this will also be duplicated, oops, to go right here. So, okay, we're going from 45 to 60. At 60, this piece will now take over, right? So I'm going to click on this, insert location and rotation, and we're going to push this all the way over to this spot so that we're ready to drop it back in. So 60 to 75. I'm also going to click on our cube here, and I'm going to first drag our cube all the way over here. Something is not adding up. All right, so guys, I actually made a huge mistake here, and these weren't properly aligned, so we actually need to redo something real quick. I actually, see, I was like slight increment off here. Big mistake, but this is good that we caught this now so that we don't animate everything else. I really should have checked my work a little bit more here. That is it. And then we want to bring it on the x-axis over here. Cool. So this is going to be our guide to make sure we're lined up properly. So let's go back to frame 60. GZ to move this down. Insert a new keyframe. GZ. Move this down. Insert a new keyframe. And now everything comes up to the correct height. I'm going to move this down. I'm going to move this down. And I'm going to move this down. Now everything should be perfectly lined up. I'm going to get rid of our guide piece. Double checking all of this because I want it to be perfectly aligned. Is this piece perfectly aligned? Yep, we're good. All right, guys. I'm getting lightheaded from talking so much, but it's okay because it's totally worth it for this tutorial. You just working really hard, watched all your videos. It's best and inspirational for me. Thank you so much. That really, truly means a lot to me. And that's why I do this stuff. Because I get messages from you guys all the time. And it really makes me happy to know that this is valuable content for you. All right, let's go to our side view again. And let's start completing this animation. So we want our piece to move on frame 75. Excuse me. How did this get back up there? Hold up. There we go. All right, so frame 75. Oh, it's because this is keyframed. That's why, guys. We need to go back down, insert a new keyframe for that, go over to 75, and now we get to move our piece all the way over here, right there. Insert location and rotation, and this one as well. Let's go ahead and check this. So, as you can see, the piece is going to move up. And then it's going to be transferred over now. Now remember, we have to reset these two pieces to their original spots. So I'm going to click on this one, duplicate our keyframe from 45 all the way over to 75. Oops, 76, 75. It's going to bring it up. Actually, should probably delay that a little bit by 5 frames. Perfect. It comes back down. Now this piece also needs to reset to its original location, which is going to be 90, or over to 90. So move, boom, back. Now this piece is going to move our purple piece over as well. So at this point, from 75 to 90, I'm going to move this piece over here, right? Insert location and rotation, and I'm going to also do the same for this. I'm going to go back to 75. Insert location rotation over to 90, move it over, and then it's going to drop down into that slot. But remember, we need some more frames here actually, guys, so I'm going to go to 120, or no, hold up, 24 times 7. Did I do that right? That's too much. Sorry, 24 times 5. Oh, that is 120. All right, sorry guys, I clearly, did I really? That doesn't make sense. 24 times 5? Oh, I guess it kind of does. All right. So clearly math is not my strong suit, but that is okay because we're almost on the animation. All right, let me go ahead and bring this back over. 90 plus, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Trying to do the math here. Is it 115? Yeah, it should be 115, I think. Or no, 105. All right, I think that's pretty even. So boom, boom. Now this piece just needs to fall down. As soon as it hits 90, it should start falling very quickly to its final location, which is going to be right here. Insert location rotation, and then we just need some more frames for everything to reset. This piece is reset. This piece is still resetting by 105. We should be good. Let me just check. Let's see if everything's looking correct. We'll know right away if this loop was correct or not. Everywhere math. Yeah, everywhere is math. Boom, pushed, 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 boom. Guys, I think we have a complete loop here. I think we successfully did the complete loop. Guys, I think we did it. Let me just make sure. I'm just double checking to make sure nothing's stuttering. Oh wait, something looks weird back here. Guys, I think we did it though. I think we did it. It's smooth. I agree, it is smooth. Guys, I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. Now, this is the part where I spend 3 more hours trying to get the colors right. But I actually think this looks really, really cool. What I might do is I might take our floor plane, which I now have selected, and I'll just mess around with like the roughness a bit. See how when you mess with the roughness, it completely changes the, like, look at the side right here. Look what happens when I change the roughness. Completely changes everything. A lot of people ask me all the time, Kenny, how do you get your lighting the way you get it? This is how, like, I just mess around with the materials until I find something that looks good. So I actually think this is looking really solid. The blue is throwing me off a little bit. Guys, part of me wants to, should we just continue the purple stack all the way down? I don't know. Or, I'm sounding like a seal over here. Let me do this. Let me scale it on the Z-axis. What is that? 5. We'll do 6. Object, apply, scale. Bring it down on the Z-axis like so. Perfect. could do something like that. So it's like this little tower that supports our purple guys. And we could make it purple just to see what it's going to look like. That's not purple. There we go. So this would be everything being purple. But I actually kind of like the blue. I don't know. The blue is kind of nice. What do you guys think? Is this satisfying? What do you guys think? Is glass material take a long time to render? Yes. Your loops are so good. Thank you so much. This is sexiest. You nailed it. Smooth. Thank you guys. I really appreciate that. So I guess I might wrap up the YouTube tutorial pretty soon here. Glass, I can talk about that real quick. I mean, I don't care if this goes on YouTube. If you guys want to watch the video, you can. If you don't, that's totally fine. Glass does take a long time to render, but you can. There's ways to optimize it. I've talked to a friend about this. There are ways to optimize that. Light paths. A lot of people don't look at the light paths when they create things. Definitely something worth looking into. Damn, this looks so good. I'm so happy with this. Is there anything I would change? Let me look. We could zoom in a little bit. Although I kind of like where we're at with the scale. Could zoom in a little bit, give ourselves a little bit more detail. Or we could zoom way, way, way out. I think I like it better when it's zoomed in just enough. I think that's a good scale. Look at this. What do you guys think? Cool or no? So another thing to keep in mind is when you're creating these things, if you do have your snapping on and you are creating these satisfying animations, super, super important to keep that on because it's going to make your life 10 times easier when you go to do this stuff. And don't forget to apply your scale or it'll mess up your bevel. Guys, I'm super pleased with this right now. Oh, you know what we got to add, guys? Hold up. You know what we got to add on this cube when it falls down at the end? Where's my keyframes? What the hell? Oh, it's the wrong cube. Haha, I tricked myself with my own looping animation. All right, so when it falls down from frame 90 to 100, I'm actually going to highlight those keyframes, interpolation mode, bounce. Now watch. See how it bounces? And I'm actually going to have it bounce all the way to frame 105. That looks pretty good. Guys, I'm really happy with this. Now that we have this as our base animations, we could actually take this and we could like really mess around with the colors as much as we want. For example, if we go to our very, very beginning before anything happens, we could give these, every other one of these, we can give a lighter color. So let's see what we can do here. If we do this in a checkerboard pattern, we might be able to come up with something really cool. Let me just see if this is going to work. If it's not, we'll completely revert back to our original materials. I'm going to duplicate this material, and I'm going to give it a lighter pink, right, like that. So now watch this. If I select every other one of these, oops, why am I I'm always getting calls at the worst time, guys. Hold on, let me answer this, guys, and I'll be right back. Hold on, I'm going to literally stop the live, and I'll come right back.